there, YouTubers and subscribers, RoseRed17 here, and here it is, the one volume that I've been wanting to talk about for a very long time. Volume 12, chapters 96 to 104. The reason I like this volume so much is because there's an interesting event going on, including a crazy badass transformation of Shiki, and also a reintroduction of someone we viewers may know. So let us get started with chapters 96, A Young Man's Memory, where it starts off with Wise interfering with their battle, and the reason is because Draken did something to someone he cares for, and we also see the backstory of Wise's past. It turns out that 60 years ago, Wise's mother and many other people died from an unknown illness on the planet Norma, and I remember from the last volume there was a machine that empowered Draken Joe by stealing the life force from others. So Draken Joe has been stealing the life force from different planets for his own selfish desires. Both Wise and Shiki decided to team up to take him down, but then something happens. Hermit hacked into the system of the machine to reverse the process as it starts to drain Draken's power, but then she noticed something was wrong, as did Shiki and Wise when they saw Draken's body had a sudden transformation, turning him into an unidentifiable creature. Draken's transformation is caused by the reverse process that has weakened his powers, but his ether gear has gone out of control, as Hermit explains the situation of how and why it's happening, which I can't understand what she's applying, but long story short, Draken is losing control and now he's on a rampage. He has taken over the satellite that he's stolen from Lady Coronai and killed all the men inside the ship. He managed to get a hold of Rebecca until Hamura came in to free her from his grasp, but the fight is not over. Draken's conscience seems to be multiplying, losing more and more of his humanity and becoming a complete monster. Then, there is a scene where Draken creates a gun from his strange body figure and points it at Shiki's head, as memories from the world number 29 came back to him as the bullet stopped in mid-air with his gravity. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where we first see Shiki's overdrive design, and like most people agree, he looks awesome. Then in the next chapter is a wonderful color panel of Shiki's overdrive transformation and everything else. And this is also the chapter where they announced the release of the anime of the series. I just watched the first 2 episodes of the anime a couple days ago, and I have to say I really liked it. The animation looked great, and I think JC Staff did a great job with it. Now once this fight scene gets animated, I would love to see some good effects as it's designed here. The panel already looks badass, especially when Shiki creates a black hole. Meanwhile, the Shining Stars have to deal with the satellite with the protective barrier, and their ship's energy isn't enough to destroy it. So Wish suggests using every ether gear on board to the main cannon. Now back to Rebecca and Hamura, where both girls are struggling and can't use their ether gears. So Rebecca calls Von Happy and shoots her way out, freeing Hamura afterwards. These scenes keep going back and forth with Shiki, the girls, and the Shining Stars. As they manage to succeed, then back to Shiki and Draken, we start to see a little bit of his backstory. So this explains why he did what he did. Draken Joe was considered a test subject and only gets to live 15 years. So that is when he studied alchemy to live a longer life. Draken's memory has been flowing into Shiki's mind due to the gravity force and seeing the will of living longer than 15 years. Once Shiki sees this, he tells Draken that he'll be his friend. Typical Shiki. But he also realized that Draken has been living long enough and decided to put him to sleep with his new technique called the Meteor Breaker, and the enemy is defeated. Now on the chapter 99 called Pendant, Shiki transformed back into his original form and defeated Draken Joe, who quickly ages as Wise is ready to finish him off, but then couldn't do it. Even after Joe reaches his hand to Wise, begging him to give him his life. But Sybil came along and discussed the vows of life. Rebecca and the others managed to meet up with Shiki and Wise, as later on the Eden Zero, Hermit asks about what happened to Draken Joe, and Pito answers about taking him to custody by Amira. But then it cuts to Wise in his room thinking about the time when Sybil gave him back a pendant that Wise thought was stolen from him, but in truth, Wise gave it to him. Now, I don't want to get into details that I can't discuss, but honestly, I can't wrap my head around this. So in the short version, the pendant was given to Sybil from 50 years ago, judging by the panel here, and Wise is happy with his new life. Now cuts to Labilia and Hamura walking around the ship dock when she runs into a familiar face. She is not happy about seeing him again. And then at the end of the chapter with Rebecca and Shiki, they were discussing how everyone did well during the fight, and then Rebecca mentioned a name that every viewer has forgotten. Of course, I'm talking about Captain Connor. You know, the guy that had the Eden 1 mark on his arm from volume 6, and not only the viewers have forgotten about him, but Shiki and Pito seem to as well. Now in chapter 100 gives all the readers the element of surprise at the end. But before I get to that point, let us start from the beginning. On the planet Blue Garden, with the crew having a conversation with the Grand GIA master, Noah, revealing his true identity as the GIA director and asks him not to tell anyone about it. And then Rebecca decided to talk to him alone about her powers and where she got them from. But sadly, he couldn't tell her anything since he has no answer, but discovered that the power came from beyond the cosmos. And then she asked about Captain Connor from the world number 29. She explains that no one remembers him except her, and Noah suggests the possibility of another cat lemur user. Now after reading this chapter, it got me thinking that Captain Connor is the other cat lemur user, but I could be wrong. It could be a completely different character that has not been introduced yet, perhaps a relative to Rebecca. I don't know, I'm just making guesses. The truth is, there's not much about Rebecca's origin story besides being an orphan. Anyhow, in the next page, Rebecca and Lobelia start to run into each other, as Rebecca starts to apologize for Lobelia's mistreatment, and it looks like they were starting on good terms until the decided to post embarrassing pictures of Rebecca. Yeah, the rivalry between these two isn't going to change, but at the same time, it isn't that bothersome anymore. I didn't like Lobelia to begin with, but after seeing this chapter, I don't see her as much of a nuisance. Don't get me wrong, she's still a troublemaker giving Rebecca a hard time, and honestly, I kind of find it charming that these two girls are giving off a Natsu and Grey vibe. But moving on with the chapter, Sister is in the process of healing clean as stated that her emotions were stolen, and next is Shiki showing Hammer and Wise the hologram of Mother until Rebecca shows up. They discuss what their wishes are once they find Mother, but before that, Shiki decided to visit his home planet of Granbell. Now this is where the plot twist comes in towards the end of the chapter. There is Captain Connor from the Eden 1 ship and also the panel of Ziggy coming back to life. Yeah, you heard me right. Came back to life, as shown in chapter 101. After Shiki visits the Granbell planet and after discovering the truth, Ziggy shows up. But instead of a favorable union with his grandson, he tries to kill him in the process of saying that humans are ugly creatures. And then the Eden 1 arrives. Okay, clearly shows that Ziggy is now the bad guy, and I almost didn't see that coming. You hear me say the word almost, right? Because in one of the covers of the Heroes manga, it shows the 3 antagonists from the different series. How did I guess that Ziggy was the bad guy in Eden Zero from this cover page? Well, it's because of the identity from the other characters from Hiro Mashua's other series. First, there is Zera from Fairy Tail, and if I remember correctly, I think his name was Lucia. Actually, I didn't really remember his name at all. I had to look it up. So yeah, his name is Lucia from Rave Master. These two in the cover page gave me the idea about Ziggy being the antagonist of Eden Zero, and this manga was released before Volume 12 even came out. Actually, it was during the time when Draken Joe was still being the bad guy. So as you can see, there's a little bit of foreshadowing from the creator. And those of you who haven't read the Heroes crossover manga, I suggest you check it out. I'll put a link in the description down below. Now back to chapter 101 with Ziggy informing Pino to come along as he told her that she belongs to him. Going on to chapter 102, it proves that Ziggy has become the antagonist of Eden Zero, as it was foreshadowed from the Heroes crossover manga. As Shiki and the others came face to face with Ziggy, the Eden 1 ship appears, and as Ziggy commands Pino to come along with him, but Shiki and the others think it's all an act. But Ziggy proves them wrong by attacking them, but everyone managed to escape the debris, and then afterwards, Shiki shouted out to Pino asking her who she wants to go with. Pino gains her consciousness and cried about wanting to become human and wants to be with Shiki. And then Ziggy told Herman that he doesn't need her or any of the shining stars as he enters the new ship, the Eden 1. That is when the Eden Zero came along and picked up the crew and followed the Eden 1 ship. Then Rebecca noticed a familiar, or should I say, forgotten face, Captain Connor. Remember when I said that this character was important a few volumes back? Well, here's the reason. Then Ziggy came up behind him talking about how the Eden Zero was just a prototype for the Eden 1, and that his goal was to rule over humanity along with his new crew, the Dark Stars, thus ending the chapter with Shiki and Ziggy's conversation. Now in chapter 103, Clash of the Cosmos, is where Ziggy attacks Shiki's crew as they try to defend themselves after realizing they were outmatched and plan to escape under Shiki's orders. Now there's a ship captain who knows that the odds are against them and it's not too late to fall back. However, Ziggy is not giving them that chance as they continue attacking the ship. With all of Eden Zero's defense system down and all their weapons destroyed, they seem to be out of options. They can't run away, they can't fight back, and so Rebecca believes their only thing left is the Cat Leaper. However, even that failed to save them as she can't activate it on her own yet. And when all hope seems lost, Elsie and the Skull Fairies came to their rescue, allowing the Eden Zero to escape. Then at the end of the chapter, Elsie calls Shiki to talk to him about Ziggy. Now in the last chapter of this volume has some interesting facts on the matter. For instance, Elsie tells a story about her and Ziggy met and how she was saved by him as a child. She also knew Shiki as a baby when she was on the ship, and that Pino was built on Granbell but took a space pod to another planet, and thus why she was found on Norma. You know, it never crossed my mind about Pino being created by the Demon King, but what did was how she ended up on Norma. Well, it looks like I got my answer. Now on the most important fact is about Ziggy coming back to life. After giving Shiki the Eden Zero, Elsie decided to pay him a visit to his grave and then sensed ether gear inside his corpse. She also mentioned that it was a dark power that didn't belong to the Ziggy that she knew, and placed a tracker on him to locate his position, and also heard on what he is saying, and they all hear him saying that he's going to see Mother. Then at the end of the chapter, after Elsie left, Shiki made a speech about finding Mother before his grandfather does, and found their way into the Dragonfall cosmos. Now so far this volume is one of my favorite ones in Eden Zero, and there's a few of them that I like, but this one takes me away. First was the upgrade to Shiki's transformation. With the white hair, purple markings, black outfits, the horn, it's definitely my favorite transformation out of Shiki's gravity powers. Now I'm not saying the other one is bad, in fact that one looked pretty good too, but his full transformation has that demonic vibe to it, along with its appearance. Then there is Ziggy becoming the antagonist of the series, who is the one person who raised the main character and teaches about friendship and love, even telling that both humans and bots can coexist. This is a surprise to everyone reading the series, even though it was foreshadowed from the crossover manga, but it still made our jaws drop for some viewers. Ziggy's sudden change is a big mystery at the time when this volume was released, whether the fact that he was infected by a real virus that caused him to change, or something else. Now I have seen the character cliche a good turning bad or bad turning good, and there is some kind of explanation as to why that person changed. And in Ziggy's case, there is a reason why he suddenly had a change of heart and became the evil bad guy for all to fear. Now I know he's the Demon King and everything and wants to destroy all humans, but when in fact he raised a human child and gave him his gravity powers and education about right and wrong. So after seeing a character like this suddenly change, you know something was up. And believe it or not, there are some clues to Ziggy's sudden change, but I don't want to spoil too much and decide to end the video here. Thank you for watching, don't forget to subscribe and leave your comments in the section down below on your thoughts in this video. Please hit that notification button for more updates. RoseRed17 out.